Friendly greetings. It's your friend Torley hanging on for dear life. Wouldn't it be funny if it flipped that way and gravity was just disoriented? In this video, I want to explain more about why I buy things, specifically musical things. You may have noticed, ooh, got another keyboard, dual keyboards. Not the first time I've been in a situation like this, but I thought the time was right for this controller, and I'll show you why. I also got this little fuzzy wig for my little H4n recorder. The reason why is because the default cap it came with just kept falling off, and it was not all that great at blocking the crushing wind sounds that when they come in like that. This so far, pet, has been working better, but I haven't taken it out on the field to do field recording. It's often my computer USB interface, which I have my headphones plugged into right now. Anyway, hopefully you can still hear me and see me all right. It's gotta compress myself. This here is my new, I can actually take this off. It's not all that heavy. It's pretty cool. It's a good size. It's from Novation. It's actually a Remote SL or 49SL Mark II. That's a confusing model name, isn't it? Got a great deal on eBay. Like I got a good deal on eBay for this. And tip, if you ever use PayPal, buy it now on eBay. Make sure to check out Bing Cashback. You can save a lot. The most I've saved ever was 25%. And that was a while ago. And recently it's been up to 15, and then it dropped a little to 8. So I was like, wow, I'm not going to spend my time waiting too long because I want to get into action with this. And this is really cool because I've looked at all the controllers in the market. So I always do a product comparison. I look at reviews, both the, say, pro magazine ones and ones from people who don't quite know what they're doing. It's very funny what that reveals for usability. And yes, it's true. Some people just have idiotic opinions, which are slop, throw those away. But sometimes you're clueless and naive and you want to learn more, and a manual is difficult to understand. You just want to play around. Like this, I had this plugged in and it was working with Ableton Live, my DAW of choice, within minutes. But some things I couldn't quite figure out yet, so I did have to experiment a bit. It's got this LED. Now, what's really neat is you've got sliders here, you've got rotary encoders, these endless knobs. You can keep turning them, they'll light on, they can keep going forever. Although you can set it so they limit, even though they would feel like they continue, they can max out like 127. And these ones which are finite, as well as soft drum pads. But especially what I'm fond of is the XY pad. Have you seen some of my past videos? I love alternate expression. And I just wish this had a ribbon strip here like the old Yamaha Yami CS80, or even a D-pad like Roland, but that's their proprietary technology, gosh darn it. I swear, if someone ever makes or if Korg, see this nano control here, if they ever make a nano beam in tandem with Roland, I would be all over that. So I might not be using this so much anymore because this one has these buttons as well. Although this is closer to my desk, so while looking at the screen, it's less awkward. Transport buttons for that. And a prime difference is, notice this, you have two wheels, one controls the pitch here, okay, and one controls the modulation. Not really noticeable in this sound. But in here, they're both in one, again, sort of this coordinate system, a joystick. You can move it up and down. Like that. That wasn't totally realistic. I increased the release time on it. But it's more expressive. So it's easier to do than trying to finagle with both, I find. Whoops, that's the end of the keys there. It's like, that's the first key note place. But of course, the key advantage is you can play two sounds at once easier. Granted, I think it's more useful for live than in studio, but there might be a time where I want to do that or map it differently. And the XY pad, I haven't set it to this, but let me show you actually. So say for instance, this is really cool how you can map it, just really easy in Ableton Live. Say for instance, I have a good one for this is probably, well, reverb provides a good illustration, but something more dramatic like phaser is often a nice choice. Okay, so see here, this looks familiar, doesn't it? So I can right click it and edit MIDI map. And then with this left one click, I will move up. Okay, hi there. And I click this one and I move to the right. There we go. So 69 and 68, those numbers don't matter so much as just knowing that now it's mapped there. See, like that. So watch. Okay, so they're kind of inverse because you notice it's not going down as you might expect. I can change that, of course. But the cool thing is knowing you can just do that within seconds. So if I were to go back to add MIDI map, and I could say invert the range. I think that's the right one. We'll see. Ooh, did I do something harmful there? Oh, I flipped it the other way. Anywho, I've got to learn that. Let me just turn that off for now. But I looked at all the features of this, and before I was looking, if you're familiar with M Audio's line, like this is an M Audio key station 88 ES. It's good price. You can get it $200 or less US. Cashback, remember. But I looked at the Axiom line, which is the equivalent of these, roughly meant to be competitive, smaller ones that have semi-weighted controllers. And I was like, do I really want to get into that? Do I really? Because they didn't have an XY pad, and they have the Axiom Pro, which has their equivalent to AutoMap. I don't really use AutoMap on this yet, though. I just like out of the box. And let me show you something more with sound, something with Aftertouch. Aftertouch is really, really cool. So here you can see all my plugins getting inside. What I do, and I try demos, of course, but before I even download a demo, I'm going to want to be compelled about it. I'm going to look at the website, look at the choice of typography and overall branding and the cohesiveness, because that often speaks to the quality of their products. I found this to be true, by the way, time and time again. That's why I've gotten things, why you see some of the plugins here. And I'm just going off in tangents. I love that. Connections, Stillwell Audio. This isn't I didn't buy this. It's a trial, but the notable thing is it's like an indefinite trial. And some companies are doing that. They let you trial something for 30 or 60 days instead of 1 week or 14 days. And okay, it's going to take them longer to make a sale perhaps, but it gets integrated into your everyday working routine. And when you find something to be indispensable like that, heck, you're going to buy it. And I've done that a couple of times or so already. This is also a demo. But what I came here to show you was specifically, actually, let me open a new MIDI track. So it's going to play on both now. It's going to play the same sound. And it's Arturia's Analog Factory. This is a great time machine. I often refer to these virtual analogs. Not just that, but when you sample, when you bring culture in, you're going to travel back through time. And this provides recreations of classic actual analog synthesizers. Of course, it's going to sound different somewhat, but it sounds very fat. And I have a lot of favorites here. So let me just click the favorites. And within here, Chariot intro. This is like Chariots of Fire, I think. Okay. Like Vangelis. Oh, hard G's are so tricky. But what I can also do is this has Aftertouch, unlike this, which means I can press a key down. It's a little bit more clicky than the feel on this. And I can press it down and press it down again. So listen carefully. You can't do that with this. See? So that's great for expression. Note it is channel Aftertouch, which is the more common variety. Ableton Live does not support polyphonic Aftertouch, although it'd be nice to have that on each key. So sadly, I cannot use things like East-West Quantum Leap's word builder, but it's still nice that when I press it down, and often it's assigned to the same thing as the mod wheel. See? But it's still cool because you don't have to reach for that. You can do it with one hand. It'd be nice if we could jiggle it side to side. I've seen some keyboards can do that and add extra vibrato. It's like having a pitch wheel inside each keyboard, so to speak. And it's very cool to control it. You can see the notes. glossy like that. And I haven't even set up the XY pad for this particular one, although I could very well do that. There's a lot of great sounds in here, but I guess the logical part of why I'm introducing this in this video too is because I looked at this and some people say, this eye candy, you don't really need to have wooden sides. It's actually based, there is a real keyboard controller that integrates well with this, but this is fine for my purposes. But the way I see it and the way I hear it is that if it's not gratuitous eye candy, if it's helping your creative flow, if you look at an instrument, if you play an instrument, you feel it, you think it's beautiful and you're inspired by it, that's ultimately what counts. And that's what I'm always looking for when I get any sort of plugin. When I don't really care much for ugly plugins that probably sound ugly. This one, the Novation Bass Station. Let me show this off actually, because this came with this and I had registered it. I guess you can move it down, but whatever. Hopefully you can see, I know I have a big screen. That's the thing about real estate. And so you have all these different kinds of patches. Moog bass. It unfortunately doesn't appear to take the advantage of the aftertouch. A lot of fat things in there. So it's relatively simple, but it may find some usefulness within my within my productions. These drum pads, I haven't set them to the right notes yet. Although if I load up a drum kit, I should be able to play it. Let's go and get Eastwit's playing here. You can see it's pretty simple drag and drop operation. You just go into the browser. It's lovely having all these sounds, but of course it's the paradox of choice. You have too many choices. You're like, what the heck am I gonna use now? And sometimes there's alternates. You got to try different things. You try too much though, you get mired in that, and it's not necessarily good for your creativity. So for me, I like to have a well-defined dream. And that's why I'm doing this dream journal. It's because there's certain things I can't transliterate to words that well, but music, I have an emotion, I have a feeling of what it was like running through the forest in my sleep. Oh, I can't snap. I wish I could. I wish I could whistle too. But if I'm going to call up something like this, I think this should work. Yeah, there we go. See, it triggers that octave there. Calibrate them a bit tricky. I'm afraid to pound it off because I can get really aggressive. That's the thing when you get passionate with your music. Another thing I could think of this is the key switching. If I assign these to key switch things, that would be pretty cool because then I don't have to figure out where do I reach down there and get it from my favorite articulations. Like for instance here, the Washburn guitar, it's gorgeous. I love all these. They can take a few seconds to load for a beautiful sample guitar. And you've heard me play this one before, I hope. Let's go down. So these blue things here, you see, these are the key switches. Unfortunately, okay, they're too low an octave on this one. I have to figure out how to assign them. Fortunately, see, then it's a bit tricky if you're on there. But if you assign them to those, then I could play it. Now they're both doing the same. They're not in split mode. But how I do the split mode in Ableton, in case you're curious, with these two, okay, I'm going to hold down, it's Control here, but I'm using a Windows keyboard. So on this side, then I have just the MIDI input is limited. So on this one, it's just limited to that one. This one is just limited to this one, SL. It kind of reminds me of Second Life too. It's a nice abbreviation. I actually don't know what it stands for. Good gosh, but it's fun to know these things. So that's how I create those split sounds. And it's been fun looking at, I can show you some other things. Well, what I really love about this thing is it helps. This one, you feel more like a piano. It's flat, it's like this. This one, you feel kind of like more like a Rick Wakeman type or Jan Hammer because you're expressing, and that's why I want to show you. Let's see, let's load Twin. This is another really great. And let me know if you want me to go into depth of any of these. I can go on and on. There's always more to share. So a lot of these lead or lead sounds, as I like to say, Dancinator. It feels more like 70s kind of stuff. And it makes me feel more funky than this per se. That's so interesting, eh? The effect that will have on your attitude as a musician. This is kind of like infected mushroom. That's what it's called. Eat some mushroom. I should do a jam with the tune. Another thing I love, big pitch bend. Like that. It's very, very cool. Anywho, I think I'll call it wraps on this video. Thanks so much for watching. I know I'm so hyperactive sometimes. I start out slow. Sometimes I can be just very mellow like this or quiet. But then energy builds up, and that's energy from the music. So yeah, check out my website. Please go to torley.com, torley.com/ and music. That's where you're gonna check out my dream journal, my piano playings and other things. In addition to these YouTube videos I enjoy sharing with you, be sure to subscribe to my channel as well. If you'd like to see more videos, thank you so much. If you've gotten to the end here, there'll be more videos. There'll be videos where I play music and don't talk, videos where I talk and don't play music, and so on and so forth. Yazorama.